200 years ago, the Emperor Napoleon said, "Let China sleep, for when she wakes, she will shake the world." I've watched the waking as I've traveled to China over the last 25 years. I've watched the construction of countless glass and steel towers. I've watched cities rise out of fishing villages. I've witnessed the evolution of China from the workshop of the world into a world power. Napoleon was right. 200 years later, China is shaking the world. In the understated words of another Frenchman, Charles de Gaulle, China is a big country inhabited by many Chinese. I think people dismiss this as a silly quote until they visit China and understand its deeper meaning. My travels take me to most of the major cities in China. China can't build fast enough to satisfy the growth in both population and reputation. The statistics are staggering. A whole middle class has emerged that didn't exist 10 years ago. This new middle class is buying cars that are clogging the expressways and forming a dense cloud above the cities. It will be interesting to see how China solves this economic conundrum. While the landscapes and cities are interesting to photograph, my real muses are the people of China, the people I meet on the street and in the markets. I don't speak their language, and I live in a very different world than they do, but I still feel compelled to photograph them as an outsider. I feel linked to them somehow through photography. This is the third year I've wandered the streets of cities and villages looking for cultural anomalies and artifacts to photograph. The exotic sights, smells, and sounds are intoxicating, and I try to capture them with my cameras. After I finish my meetings for the day, I put on my hiking boots and stroll the neighborhoods in a search for stolen moments of unknowing participants. I don't exactly blend into the environment, so often I get odd expressions on my models' faces. I'm as comfortable in the big cities like Hong Kong and Shanghai as I am in smaller towns like Qingxi and Yangjiang. Even though their populations differ by over 100-fold, the neighborhoods all seem to have similar character and personalities. I often compare and contrast people's lives in China with my own. In many cases, it's startling how similar they are, but sometimes I become acutely aware of how fortunate I've been in life. I use an ultra-wide-angle lens for most of my street photographs, which means I'm very close to my subjects when I take their photos. I think it's important to live in the moment as versus being a voyeur from a distance. Life is meant to be lived and not observed. I treat my photography the same way. In archaeology, the term in situ refers to an artifact that has not been moved from its original place. The portraits I take in China are all in situ, showing people where they live and work, and not in a studio. This is a more authentic way to capture lifestyles and personalities. These are candid urban portraits of the people I meet in my meanderings. Luck plays a huge role in street photography. Sometimes the images I take capture the spirit and allegory of a stranger's life. Often great photos come from careful cropping to reveal a small story within a crowded and chaotic world. The great New York street photographer Bruce Gilden once said, "I love the people I photograph. I mean, they're my friends. I've never met most of them, or I don't know them at all, yet through my images, I live with them." I feel the same way about my many new friends in China.